Hi dear friends and subscribers, welcome to the Cricket Happening Show with your host Ram today. And in this part of the Cricket Happening Show, we are going to look at three matches, because in fact there are three matches going on. One is the current match which is going on between Zimbabwe and West Indies, where West Indies today declared the innings closed by taking a 206-run lead. And right now I see that Zimbabwe have lost Hamilton Masakaja's wicket. 46. It's a very difficult pitch to bat on, especially with the spinners really would be loving this particular pitch where the second test match is being played. I think that Zimbabwe is going to have an onerous task of actually trying to save the second test match. And as far as New Zealand and England were concerned, there was the first day's play. The honours totally belonged to New Zealand, with New Zealand really making all the England bowlers really work very hard by putting on 250 runs for 1 wicket at close of play, with the feature being Peter Fulton, the tall batsman, the opening batsman, getting on to his maiden century at the age of 34. And then we look at Australia versus India, which was the start of the final test match of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy series, where Australia once again showed they started struggling against the spin and finished at 231 for 8. So first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with the game between New Zealand and England. Now, New Zealand and England, well, this was played at Eden Park in Auckland. As you know, there has been no result so far in this particular series, and we are into the final test here. And in the final test, England were the ones who won the toss, so there was a good toss to win for Alistair Cook. But surprisingly, even though there were bright skies and the weather was quite warm, Alistair Cook decided to insert the New Zealanders in, which was a pretty decision which one does not really agree upon, because one would only date back to Nasir Hussain of England actually doing the same at once upon a time. I think it was in Gabba in Brisbane that he did that. So New Zealand, really I would say they made hay while the sun shined there at Eden Park in Auckland, with the openers actually putting on a very good partnership. In fact, they put on a 79-run partnership for the first wicket. It was Peter Fulton and Hamish Rutherford. Hamish Rutherford also hit 2 sixes of the bowling of Monty Palliser. It was really smoked straight down the ground by Hamish Rutherford, and he was the only victim and only joy that England had for the whole day, as Stephen Finn actually dismissed Rutherford for 37 with 2 fours and 2 sixes. 79 for 1. After that, there was absolutely no stopping the New Zealand pair of Peter Fulton and Kane Williamson, who are right now into their second wicket partnership. It's an unbeaten partnership which is going on right now at the Eden Park in Auckland. That is on the first day, with the New Zealand finishing at stumps on 250 for 1, with Peter Fulton at the age of 34 registering his maiden century. He was not out on 124 at close, with 15 fours and 3 sixes. Out of that, 2 sixes were hit off the bowling of Monty Palliser over mid wicket. As you know, as far as Peter Fulton's innings was concerned, the main feature being, one is he's a very tall batsman, so he has a good reach, I would say, to play the spinners very well. And Peter Fulton, the feature of his knock was he's a bit shaky outside the off stump. Well, yesterday too he was shaky outside the off stump, but really, I would say the edges did not go on hand, but Peter Fulton probably learnt his lessons and started improving from there on. But if you look at his wagon wheel, out of the 124 runs he scored, the 98 runs, so the lion's share of the runs was scored from the leg side, because that is the area that Peter Fulton frequents and Peter Fulton favors, and his favourite area was going over mid wicket, because Palliser was hit over mid wicket for 2 sixes and 1 boundary in one particular over, and Peter Fulton totally dominated the leg side area. So 98 runs of his 124 runs were collected through the leg side. And as far as offside was concerned, I wouldn't say the offside really definitely belonged to Kane Williamson at the other end. As you know, he's one of those classiest players from New Zealand since Martin Crowe graced New Zealand cricket. And Kane Williamson, well, he was very strong on the offside. He was punching the ball through the offside. his cover region, and whenever he plays his strokes, it's pretty classy. He played some very good pull shots too, and he finished with 83 not out in that very threatening second wicket stand which is going on currently. And Kane Williamson was not out on 83 with 13 fours to his credit. It was he really built the innings, and Peter Fulton also. So both of them really, and I would say that England have done well to not give more runs to New Zealand, because one has to look at this particular pitch. Eden Park, Auckland is a very small ground. You can have lots of runs, so probably they could have ended with 300. But let me tell you, this was a pitch, an absolute belter of a pitch, where the England bowlers could not get any purchase because the ball was not doing much. There was not any swing, there's no movement. So basically the bowlers had to really toil hard and just stick to a good line and length, which they did. But I thought they were a bit guilty of giving far too many balls down to the very favoured leg side to Peter Fulton, who took full heavy toll. As I said, 98 runs of his 124 runs were scored through the leg side. So that is not good bowling from the Englishman. And well, as far as the wicket taker was concerned, was Stephen Finn, 22 overs, 6 maidens, 1 for 61, none for 44 for Anderson, 19 overs and 5 maidens. Stuart Broad, 19 overs, 5 maidens, none for 57. Monty Palliser, 24 overs for 70 runs. I thought he bowled well. 3 overs, 1 maiden, none for 7 for Jonathan Trott. And Joe Root bowled 2 overs, 1 maiden, none for 5. So New Zealand definitely looking very good here on the first day, and they would be hungry for more. As I said, it's a very good pitch, so New Zealand have to ensure that they have to put a big score on the board, probably in excess of 500 runs, so that they really make a real match out of it. Because England, with their batting lineup, is definitely capable of putting up the 400-500 runs that New Zealand would be putting. But well, cricket is a game of gross uncertainties. You never know. But well, I thought that New Zealand have done very well on the first day, really grinding these English bowlers to really put up 250 runs. And so we would all be watching forward to Kane Williamson trying to get to his 4th Test century, which is a happy augury for New Zealand, I would say. Well, so from here I'm moving now to the match between India and Australia in the final test of the Border Gavaskar Trophy. As far as the changes were concerned, for India it was Ajinkya Rahane who finally got his Test cap, and I thought that was the right decision. So he would be opening with Murli Vijay, as Shikhar Dhawan has been injured. And Australia, well, after they had a new captain, Michael Clarke was out due to injury, and Shane Watson was the captain of the team. And also they had lots of wholesale changes there, and all the players who were disciplined were back. Shane Watson, Mitchell Johnson was given the first opportunity here in this series. James Pattinson back. Matthew Wade, the wicketkeeper, was back in favor in place of Brad Haddin. So there were wholesale changes. And as far as the pitch was concerned, after looking at the pitch had a lot of there was a lot of cracks on the pitch, and all the balls, there was no consistent bounce. Some balls used to rear up, some balls used to keep low, and that too happening on the first day, and with the spinners, as you know, already having a real stranglehold on the Australians. Well, it was a good toss to win, according to me, for Australia to put up, and they put up 231 for 8 on the board at close of play on the first day of this 4th Test of the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And Australia, well, they started off with David Warner and Ed Cowan. David Warner was very guilty of flashing outside the off stump to a ball from Ishan Sharma, who gave them the breakthrough. Bhuvneshwar Kumar bowled well in patches, but he was pretty guilty of bowling too many loose deliveries to Phil Hughes, who really did his confidence a world of good yesterday. He really learned from what he made. I mean, he's just carrying the good form forward. He made 69 in the 3rd Test, so that's what he did today. Phil Hughes' innings was a real innings, really enterprising innings. In fact, if you look at his innings, he made 45 runs with 10 fours. He really pinched that offside. He hit beautiful strokes through point. It was good to see. He was using his feet well against the spinners, and it was a very confident innings from Phil Hughes, who made 45 with 10 fours. Ed Cowan really grinded over there, tried to give good support to Phil Hughes, who was doing all the scoring at the other end, keeping the scoreboard ticking. And Ed Cowan also contributed in his own way, contributing 38 with 7 fours. And the next wicket to go was Phil Hughes, and this was the time when all the hard work was done, and Phil Hughes was the next to go, as Ishan Sharma, actually, as I said, with the pitch not really playing properly, one of the ball reared up, hit him on the helmet, and that probably, started, it probably shook Phil Hughes a bit, and Phil Hughes actually tentatively prodded forward, only to be clean bowled by Ishant Sharma 45 with 10 fours, and that made score 71 for 2. After that, Shane Watson, the captain, came in and gave company to Ed Cowan, and 106 for 2. Australia were looking okay, but later on, the spinners really came into their own. It was Ravichandran Ashwin actually who, not only what he did is he reduced Australia from a position of 106 for 2 to 136 for 7, with the first wicket to go being Ed Cowan, who was bowled by Ashwin as he tried to sweep a delivery from Ashwin, was bowled round his legs for 38 with 7 fours. The next to go, Shane Watson, trying to advance down the crease to Jadeja, missing the ball turned, Dhoni behind the stumps, whipped off the bails. He was walking, stumped Dhoni, bowled Jadeja as the captain of the Australian team, out for 17 with 3 boundaries. Stephen Smith was the man who really, before that, Matthew Wade was the next to go, who was caught by Vijay at short leg of bowling of Ashwin for 2. Glenn Maxwell and Steve Smith were the crease, and Glenn Maxwell and Steve Smith hit 2 sixes. In fact, Glenn Maxwell also hit a 6, and Stephen Smith, but Glenn Maxwell was walking after that. He tried one shot too many, caught Sharma, bowled Jadeja for 10 with 1 4 and 1 6. And Mitchell Johnson was absolutely befuddled by a ball from Ashwin, which already has him taking lots of wickets, and that was the carom ball. Mitchell Johnson didn't even know that he was clean bowled, because he was actually shouldering arms. He was just leaving the ball to be harmlessly taken by wicketkeeper Dhoni, but he suddenly saw, he didn't even see it. He had just raised his bat, and he saw that the ball from Ashwin actually turned from the off stump and went on to hit the off stump, and Mitchell Johnson was absolutely befuddled there. He was baffled. He didn't even know that he was clean bowled. He probably thought Dhoni had taken behind the wicket, but he was really surprised to see the umpire's finger go up there. But that was that. Mitchell Johnson was bowled by a real fooling delivery from Ashwin, the carom ball actually disturbing the stumps, and that was the time Australia were 136 for 7. But what happened later, as has been seen in this series, always the lower order from Australia has really come on and really put the main Australian batsmen to real shame, with Peter Siddle really gutsing it out there for 3 hours to make an unbeaten 47 with 4 fours. And this is and what they did is they actually took Australia to safety at close of play on the first day with a score on 231 for 8. Peter Siddle's contribution unbeaten 47 with 4 fours, and James Pattinson keeping him company not out on 11 with 1 4. As far as the bowling figures were concerned, Ravichandran Ashwin was the very consistent and the successful wicket taker. 30 over 17 maidens. He toiled hard, 40 runs and 4 wickets. Splendid bowling figures. Ravindra Jadeja, 22 over 6 maidens, 34 runs and 2 wickets, also bowled well, and 2 wickets to Ishant Sharma on the top. 14 overs 3 maidens, 235. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar didn't look good yesterday, even though I had some moment early on. 9 overs 1 maiden, none for 43. Pragyan Ojha, 23 over 6 maidens, none for 67. And that was it. So Australia finishing at 231 for 8. So now I'm just rushing out from here because I just need to talk about the current game which is happening between West Indies and Zimbabwe. As you know, West Indies replied today. They declared at 381 for 8. In fact, they declared the overnight score of 381 for 8, with Shivnarayan Chandrapal notching up another century. He made 108 of 13 with 13 fours, and Dinesh Ramadhin making 186 with 8 fours and 1 6, getting into a 173 run partnership. And after that, today, West Indies early in the morning declaring the innings closed at 381 for 8. So essentially means it's a 206 run lead for the West Indians. And for West Indies, well, as I said, this pitch is not really doing anything. In fact, the bowling figures for Zimbabwe: Prosper Tsaya 22 over 6 maidens, 60 runs and 3 wickets. 2 for 102 for Graham Creamer, the right-arm leg spinner. 2 for 82 for Kyle Jarvis, who gave them the breakthrough. And as far as Zimbabwe are concerned, currently they have just started 206 runs in arrears. Currently they are 51 for 1. They have lost Hamilton Masakadza, who was caught behind the bowling of Tino Best for 17 with 3 fours. But Busi Sibanda is looking good as he did in the first innings. He's batting on 24 with 4 boundaries. Brendan Taylor, the captain, is not out on fire. They have, as I said, it's not going to be an easy pitch to bat on. I would really put my money on West Indies here to win this test, because the pitch is not easy to bat on. There's a lot of turn and bounce available, and the spinners are the ones that Zimbabwe have to really watch out. They already lost 1 wicket to Tino Best, And right now, Shane Shillingford, he has bowled 2 overs for 2 runs. Well, as I said, this is just a cricket update coming in from West Indies. As I see, the score has currently moved on to 56, with Visi Subanda hitting his 5th boundary in his score of 28. Well, right now I'm going to leave you, dear fans, friends and subscribers, from this Cricket Happening show for today. Thanks for your company and thanks for watching Cricket Happenings. Your host Ram signing off for the day. Thank you.